Paolo, thank you very much. We're doing this small episode of Conversations. Conversation is a network project in which we try to recall the past conferences. 2020 was supposed to be the end of the world, and apparently it didn't. So in 2021, you finally did the first online conference of the network because of the pandemic. So you are one of the very special conference organizers, and I want to ask you, besides the COVID, what was your biggest challenge doing the online conference?
Okay, so there was more than one challenge. First of all, we postponed it by a year, still thinking of doing it, that by that time we would go back to normality and we would be able to do it in person. And of course, as the pandemic progressed by the winter and by the early 2021, we started to realize in the executive council that that was not going to happen. And so we decided to, okay, let's pivot online, as now everybody says pivot, it's become the buzzword for that. But I had attended several conferences that switched online because people kept doing conferences, running conferences, and they were doing online basically the exact, I don't know how to call it, an exact transposition, or they were doing online as if it would be in person. So basically all day long with long panels, long presentations, people reading with the Zoom camera, and it wasn't working because you don't have the reception you don't have the same kind of perception or reception from the audience, and you lose your audience after a while. You cannot go have 3 days of conference from morning till late afternoon, and it wasn't really, at least for me, I attended many and it wasn't working.
So it was a model you already had, you already noticed, and it wasn't working, and
it was
boring,
and
it was tiring.
And because our conference tends to be big, we were supposed to have in person around 100 people. It wasn't manageable. I didn't think it was manageable online. The other thing is that we are a very global network, and at the time we mapped the membership, the geographic locations of the membership, and they were coming from 21 different time zones. And the people that had subscribed or sent in abstracts for the conference, they came from 19 different time zones. So how can you have something that runs from morning till evening, UK time, and have it attended by people that are from Western America or from Oceania, from New Zealand and Australia? And we have a lot of speakers that come from those countries. So clearly you cannot not have attendance throughout the conference. And so that's when it clicked that I had to come up with a different format.
So what was the idea?
The idea was that, to me, reading from a paper while a camera points at you, everybody sitting there and with the grid-like thing, live doesn't work. So I came up with the idea of asking people to record the presentation, and the live event would be just the discussion. What we have, basically the Q&R that we have at the end, we do it live. So we would record and upload it, and this implied designing a whole website specifically with that in mind, with that type of content in mind. And of course there were no precedents, so I didn't have any guarantee that it would work. And that would rely on people recording themselves. And so how do you know that the quality of the recording is going to be good? How do you know that people will engage with the recording, watch the recording before the live discussion, and then attend the live discussion? And also, what wasn't working in the other conferences is that you cannot just go on 3 full days on and on with no breaks.
Okay.
And so what I came up with was, okay, we record everything. We put the presentations online, all the abstracts, the bios, the presentations, and I tried to design the website in a way that it enabled people also to do different kinds of searches through the abstracts and the papers, so they could sort of map out what they would be more interested in. And then we organized the discussions in 5 different live events, which we split between some in the mornings UK time, so that people from Eastern Asia or Oceania, New Zealand or Australia could attend, and some in the evening, so people from America could attend. Of course, if you were in Europe, you were luckier because you could attend both. Because of course, me myself being based in the UK, the reference time would be our time zone. And
Bottom
so that's
line,
basically the format that I came up with.
Were you happy with the outcome? I mean, what?
The happy was beyond my wildest dreams because, so the website was also designed to remain available and remained available for 2 years after the live conversations. So the content has been was there online, and only for 2 years, because then I didn't get funding to renew the subscription, because it was a WordPress domain. But in those 2 years, but especially the first year, I kept, you have all the statistics, and we had 22,000 visits. More than 10,000 were very significant, because somebody, it's just really just clicking on the page and then going away. But because it gives you also the duration of the visits, more than 10,000 were visits that lasted more than an hour, or in some cases several hours. So there were people that were actually watching the recordings, engaging with the recordings, etc. And one of the keynotes, the one with the industry keynote, Elizabeth Kilgareth, was watched by 3,000 people. And there were people from 70, 80 different countries that accessed the website. So I never imagined that it would be, and this feedback that I received, because of course I've asked people to give us feedback, was overwhelmingly positive, because I think that we gave with that format, which was an experiment, but we gave with that format both the synchronous live interaction, but also people who couldn't do that, they had access whenever they had time, they could go and catch a paper. So the recorded papers were there, but then we also recorded the live discussion, so even if they didn't participate live, they could attend afterwards something that maybe they would be interested in.
I know you had also a kind of a round table, which was live with you, with Stephen Maras, I think Jan McDonald was there.
And Raphael was there, and then we had also Rosamund Davis. Yes.
And Rosamund. Okay.
And also Alexandra Xenofontova.
How was that? I mean, how...
the roundtable was basically the easier...
it was a Zoom kind of
It was a Zoom roundtable, yes. Yeah. But the roundtable was easier to organize, because of course the roundtable is self-contained. And we did have we didn't have a script, but we had sort of a number of topics that we wanted to address. And the roundtable was around a few topics that we actually, we with the colleagues, we had discussed over the years, and that was then published. We had also a second a sort of continuation, because it was a 1 hour roundtable, I think, the first time, and then we had a sort of follow-up to round it up and have enough material, because then we were asked by the Journal of Screenwriting to sort of put it in a written format so that it could be published. And so that's the origin of the roundtable. But doing a roundtable via Zoom is easier, because basically if it's an hour, then you know that there's going to be 6 speakers, and so you sort of try to organize. You just give you have an overall plan of how you want the discussion to steer it, but then you know that there's 6 people, so everybody will contribute to each topic for, I don't know, a couple of minutes insight, or maybe 5 minutes, and so you have various contributions. So it's easier to piece it together. It's not one person going on for an hour, and that makes it more difficult to keep the attention up.
Do you still have the videos of that conference?
I have the recordings, but the website, I had to take it down because we couldn't renew the subscription.
But you have the recordings and you have the roundtable.
I should have the roundtable. I didn't double check, because I keep copies of everything, so I have the offline versions of those.
Would you do this again? I mean, if, let's say...
Online?
Let's say the network would come to you and say, Paolo, let's do one online session each 3 years. Would you do that again?
I don't know. It depends. Doing it online, we were sort of forced by the circumstances. But that meant, because in person, I was supposed to have a team of helpers. And when we switched online, also with the university main preoccupations being, in delivering, classes with the pandemic, etc., I didn't have any support apart from some, and it becomes.
What about the network?
The advantage means that you don't need money, because
did the network support it in any way?
The network supports in the way that it can support, meaning that to publicize it and make it as.
But that was all.
The network is not, but the network doesn't have money, because we don't ask our members to subscribe and to pay a fee. So basically, but the money is not the problem, because if you do it online, everything becomes very cheap. You just need the money for the domain of the website and for a few other things, but it's just, you're talking about the in-person conference would have been probably £20,000, UK pounds, to organize. The online conferences costed a few £100.
Do you regret, Paolo, that you haven't done it in person?
Oh, yes.
You regret it?
Because, as I said before, I received incredibly, overwhelmingly positive feedback from so many people, but it was great that I done it and we pulled it off, because otherwise we would have had a 3-year hiatus. And of course, when we did it, we wouldn't know how longer it would last. We weren't sure that 2022 we would be in Vienna, and we couldn't keep postponing the Oxford one indefinitely. So we knew that it was a one-off thing. So the pulling it off and giving the chance to people to interact in that way, that was great.
Would you like to apply for a new session?
Personally, I was, after the conference, I felt kind of deflated, because yes, it's a good surrogate, but it's a surrogate. It's not. Maybe I showed that you cannot simply transpose a conference online and do it the usual way.
Well, what about trying one more time and do it in person this time? Would you do that?
I don't know. I'm not sure about it.
And because
I would like to do it in person,
yeah.
And the plans are to do it, but online again, or this hybrid format, I would support it if somebody wants to do it, and I'm willing to help, but doing it again myself, I don't know. The hardest part was to design and to create the website, because it took 4 months working flat out every single day.
2 more questions I have for you, and because I know you're a kind of you're doing the statistics of the trends in the topics that are presented in each conference. What do you think it was the topic that dominated the Oxford Brookes online conference? What was that one? You remember?
I wouldn't know that there was one topic that dominated the conference one. I think that possibly what we had at the conference, probably because it gave the other advantage of having it online, it gave people, and that was also in the feedback that I received, it gave people that maybe never have the resources, the financial resources to travel around the world and go to conferences, because in their countries, in their universities, there isn't funding for traveling to conferences. So they had a chance to attend the conference and to participate in the conference and to give papers because it was online. So that was certainly the plus of doing it online. But now I forgot the original question, sorry.
No, the question was, because I know that you're doing this...
Oh, yes. But probably because of that, I think that what emerged from there were more, how can I say, cultural perspectives, more diversity in terms of where the people came from, and so bringing their own perspective. I think that for the first time we had speakers from South Africa, that approached us because they would never be able to come to a conference in person, but then were able to attend because of that. We had people from other countries that up until that point were never really represented in terms of participation to the conference, and so I think that it opened up the chance to, or it provided a chance to open up to other perspectives that maybe because of contingencies or the contingencies of having to travel physically to a faraway country, maybe sometimes we lose on possible contributions because those members cannot attend in person.
I would propose.
So I would say variety of the topics, not one.
I would propose to the Executive Council to have a global online conference and to name Paolo Russo the executive director of this. That will be my first in the new mandate I'm having now.
It certainly has opened up other chances.
Okay.
And I think that the format showed that. And from the comments I had, people were certainly eager to have some more. I wouldn't do it as a regular thing.
Okay.
But maybe as once in a while.
Once in a while, a global conference.
It could be a good idea. I would say that probably something else that I tried to do with the website, and maybe that speaks about what I was talking about, the diversity, not really the diversity, but the variety of the angles, is that what I tried to do is to do some curation before the uploading of all the papers. And it's in a way something that websites, when you design a website, you can work with tagging, and when you submit an abstract, they always ask you to add 6 keywords.
Okay.
And then we don't really do much with those keywords.
Okay.
And you asked me about statistics, and basically I do read the keywords, but then when I read the abstracts, I add my own, and I used all of those to then design an area of the website where people could search and also make link up
search
various
engine
topics.
Optimization
Yes,
kind.
exactly. And
Thank
so not
you.
only the papers in one panel, but also you could see, okay, there's the papers in this panel, but what other papers in the conference speak about similar issues so that they can have an overview of all the contributions.
You can filter. Thank you very much, Paolo. The last question, because we're ending on this note, is what advices you would give to the future conference, to the future conference organizers?
You want practical advice?
Yes. Yes.
Practical advice is start as early as you can. Start as early as you can. The difficulty is not in having, you cannot really and realize what you need to control, which is basically, it's usually internal issues. So it's whatever support you have from your own institution, and usually have a budget prepared early, because the items in the budget that will make your conference more feasible is not the papers, is not the people that will attend the conference, but it's actually other things. It's the catering.
But this is more or less, let's say, common sense for event planning. But what about academic advice?
Academic advice, my advice is always the same. I am a stickler for rigor, so make sure that when you have the abstracts, you don't just say yes or no, or you don't just welcome all the abstracts because you want to have, of course you want to have critical mass, but give feedback. Take the time to go through the quality of the abstracts, and also when people be available to give advice, and this is basically what you could sum up in: do some curatorial work. Don't just organize the conference as an event. Don't just think about the logistics of the event, but also do some curation and make sure that if people, because you have people from all stages of their career, and if sometimes it's their first conference, maybe they're early researchers, and if you are more experienced, usually if you are a conference organizer, you're more experienced, you are in a later stage of your career, make yourself available. Try to make people know that it's not impossible. They should not contact you. They should contact you, and you should be available during the whole lead-up period. And I think that this is what I always try to do, and it's difficult because, of course, everybody is super worked out, and everybody has their lives and they're busy. But I think that is my personal advice. Try to make yourself available and do some more curatorial work when you select the abstracts, and also when you prepare the conference.
I promised it was the last question, but still I have one more, because I'm seeing those days Klaus Stieber, and Klaus was the organizer of the Vienna conference, which Vienna was the first post-pandemic conference in 2023. My question to you is, because you've attended previous conferences, you did the online one in the pandemic, and then do you feel there's any, let's say, change in people's behavior, in the way of even in the presentation themselves or the topic themselves, that this moment of 2022, the end of the world, has touched us? Do you feel any difference?
I don't know. The Vienna conference, no, I didn't.
Had a different vibe than the others?
The vibe that it had, it was, oh, finally we're back. There was a very general and palpable feeling of release. Finally, we can do this again in person. Which was not necessarily just because of the conference, it was because of the pandemic and how this has affected everybody's lives. I don't know that I have seen different behaviors in the way that we attend the conference or we contribute papers to the conference. And luckily, but that is my point of view, there were not many papers that were directly related to the pandemic. Or, I mean, I've seen a lot of conferences. I didn't attend all of them, and you can say that there are maybe some patterns in terms of maybe the quality sometimes is a little better, it's a little worse, but that I think it's quite normal, and it's not something that you can control. Because it's, of course, it depends. But what is true that after the pandemic, also for generational and biographical personal reasons, there's a lot of new faces, there's a lot of new people. And some of them are making very good contributions, and I think that...
And some of them disappeared.
That is encouraging. Well, some have retired, some historical veterans of the network, which is sad, but it's just, life. And I still feel a little weird because When I started, I remember the first day I attended, I missed the Brussels conference because I was supposed to attend and then I couldn't do.
Which was a great conference, by the way.
I found
Jean-Claude Carrier was
I found
there,
out about
David
the network
Bordeaux
after
there.
the Copenhagen conference. That's when I got in touch with Ian. But the first day, one of the conferences was in Sydney in 2012, and I remember that Ian was the first person that came across from the hall and to introduce himself and to welcome me into the venue and to introduce me to all the other people there.
Actually, those conversations are, we have to say, an homage to Jan MacDonald and to his idea, not the screen idea, also to the screen idea, but with the idea of funding the network. Thank you very much, Paolo. It was a pleasure, and thank you for the contribution you're making to the network.
My pleasure.